Hi there. So, this is the 1990 edition of Passport to World Band Radio. I've got a couple of editions of this. I buy them when I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic and I want to have a look back through the golden age of shortwave listening. I was really looking for an edition that predated 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Couldn't find one, so this is the next best thing. I mean, 1990, everything was effectively the same. This is before the international broadcasters started shutting down. And I just find it interesting to sort of trawl through these, looking at the advertisements, etc. And I thought I'd share it with you. So that radio on the picture there actually looks like the Satellite 500, and that's interesting because it does appear. So on the inside cover there's an advert from Philips. Keep in touch wherever you go. The A3805, a radio that I'm absolutely not familiar with. There we go. So the Grundig Satellite 500, an advertisement. It's reviewed in the portable receiver section a bit further in as being very good, but not as good as the Sony ICF 2001D. Apparently it did everything the Sony did with far fewer controls. It was far less complex to use, and still a mighty fine looking radio even today, and they do appear on eBay from time to time. So there you go. So Grundig, obviously a big name in shortwave back in the day. Swiss Radio International, page advert for them. A nice article by Larry Helms on getting started with world band radio, and well, there you go. There's a Panasonic RFB65, I think, 2001D, Japan radio company, JRC, probably a 525. I'm not sure. That looks like a Magnavox. Yeah, so there you go. What you'd expect. Now, an advertisement for Yaesu, the FRG 8800, my dream receiver when I was a kid. Interesting that the reviews on this radio are sort of only okay, really. Nothing very spectacular. And then there's also the FRG 9600, which, in my understanding, never really had rave reviews. But there you go, full page spread from Yaesu. And then Voice of Free China, Taiwan. Right, and then there's, here we go. Check out the waves of the world. So this is an advertisement for Singun, and there is the ATS 803A and other receivers. And they quote themselves as the world's largest single manufacturer of portable multiband radio receivers. I think that's because they used to do some manufacturing for some of the bigger names, Sony, Panasonic. So there you go. Back in the day, they had 6 models at least. So I think the 808 had come out in 1990, which is probably what that is. I can't see, my eyesight's not good enough, but interesting to see Singun prominent. And then another couple of interesting adverts. Computer control for your ICOM R71A and your R7000. That looks like a Mac to me, an early Mac, but they do say that the software that they use runs on Mac and what they describe as an IBM compatible computer, so that'll be Windows. So there you go, computer control back in 1990. And then on the other page, an advertisement from ICOM, the R9000, complete with, if you can see that, Spectrum display. So there you go, nearly 30 years ago. ICOM were building receivers with a Spectrum display, which I wasn't aware of. So interesting to note. Some more, quite a lot of advertisements in here for suppliers of shortwave radios for obvious reasons. Lots of interesting articles. But what I'm going to try and do is get to here. This is interesting. The Low HF225 was new in 1990, and this is an advertisement written by John Wilson, extolling the virtues of this excellent receiver. technically distinguishes itself by having a low phase noise synthesizer, which gives a reciprocal mixing performance not far that of professional receivers. Apparently, if you use one of these with your eyes shut, you would be you might believe that you're using a receiver that costs $5,000 or more. We know it's an excellent receiver. Mateus has got one, and it's superbly sensitive, very simple to use. I think they sum it up as a British understatement at its best, is how they describe the 125, and then sign off with the HF 225 is even better. So interesting. What's on tonight? Universal Shortwave, JRC NRD 525, sort of regarded as one of the best, if not the best receiver of its day. Let's have a look. Let me see if I can find some portable radio reviews. So, because they're interesting. Here we go. So there's a review of the Sony ICF SW1S and the SW1E. So this is the kind of mini portable that's the editor's choice. You can still pick these up today. They suffer from the dried up capacitor syndrome, so you're careful to buy one that's been refurbished. Advantages and disadvantages, but overall, although being relatively costly, the closest thing to world band Walkman, hands down the best mini portable on the market. So that was the view of the editor on the mini portable segment of the market. And then there we go, Panasonic RFB 65. I've got one of these. I know how good it is. Another editor's choice. It was a development from the B60. The B65 added SSB reception, and overall very easy to use portable for listening to non-critical favourite programs. So what else do they say? The RFB 60 already the best in its class, and made it capable of demodulating single sideband signals. So that's the development from the RFB 60 to the RFB 65, and 1 kilohertz tuning increments. So as we know already, it was a good radio, but editor's choice. There's a little piece on the Sony ICF 7600DS. The ICF Pro 80 and ICF Pro 70. I wanted one of those at one point, but overall, a value mainly to DX radio enthusiasts that also need a scanner. So, and then as we move on to the ICF 2001D or ICF 2010, there it is. Overall, except for audio quality and ease of use, because it's pretty complex, this established offering is still the best performing travel weight portable, and will be the best until something better comes along. And then next to that is the Satellite 500, which gets a pretty good review, and they're saying in many ways different from the 2010, simpler to use, but performance is a mixed bag, excellent in certain respects, mediocre in others. So there you go, bit of a mixed bag for the Satellite 500. Now here's another very interesting one, the ATS 803A from Singun. Advantages, quite a lot. Disadvantages, none. Overall, with balanced all-round performance, the various designations of the ATS 803A, an improved version of the 803, second only to the Philips Magnavox D2935. Best buys in their class. On the A improved version, the mono stereo switch reads wide narrow. So basically, for the money, which back in the day in Europe, well, I paid about £120 for mine, a radio for the money with no disadvantages, and I think that's probably right. I think it is kind of regarded as probably the best budget portable ever made. So there you go. The CRF V21 with the fax receiver and thermal printer, $6,500. You do see them for sale, rarely these days, but you do see them for sale. And then the tabletop receivers back in the day, the ICOM R9000 was $5,459 in the US. The NRD 525 was 1349 back in the day. The Kenwood R5000, there it is, about $1,000. Well, $1,500 in Europe, $1,000 in the United States. ICOM R71, $1,000. The low HF225, £344 plus power supply and accessories in the United Kingdom. Excellent receiver. Yaesu FRG 8800 in $784 in the United States, $800 to $1,100 in Europe. I'm so glad I managed to get one of these. Never had excellent reviews, but overall, you know, a decent receiver, tabletop receiver. And then the Kenwood R2000, similar sort of price to the Yaesu FRG 8800. Generally pleasurable for listening to most world band programs, but in need of tight selectivity. Same as the Yaesu, really. Better dynamic range. So there you go. So those are the receivers of the day, portable and tabletop. And then what's interesting here, I mean, there's lots of articles in this book. So the blue pages, which is basically the access guide to world band frequencies, and it just goes to show that in the WRTH these days, you've got a few pages of shortwave signals, but in this, back in the day, with this effectively band plan right across HF, there's about 180 pages of stations with their programming. So it just goes to show, you know, this is what was on shortwave back in 1990. These are the blue pages. Incredible, really, how things have changed. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot to listen to on shortwave, but you know, compared to how it used to be, you know, back in 1990, it's much different today. And then on the back pages, Kenwood advert for various FM receivers, scanners, and then the R5000 and R2000 advertisement there. Hear it all with Kenwood. So there you go. So that's what was happening 28 years ago. So there you go. Passport to World Band Radio, 1990. Like I think I've got 3 or 4 of these now. This is the earliest. If I can find an earlier one, then I will do. I can't remember when they started. Probably not at some point in the 80s, I think. Early 80s, someone will know. Just a really interesting insight into shortwave before the fall of the Berlin Wall. Well, this particular isn't before the fall of the Berlin Wall, but an insight into life on shortwave before the effects of the fall of the Berlin Wall, put it that way. Yeah, interesting, and I thought I would share it with you. If I buy any more, I'll do the same. So I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Thanks for watching.